And welcome back to the Practical Microservices stream. We are just going to skip that 5-minute countdown because this is starting almost a good half hour late. I think it was a good half hour, but we are starting late. So let's just real quick, something that I do want to announce is if you like the general concepts that we talk about on the stream, I did make doing some additional writing on these topics. So if you go to practicalmicroservices.com/posts, I have a couple of articles I put on there that are on the topic, like the general topic of what I do professionally nowadays is helping work move through organizations. So we don't want work getting stuck, and we want to be able to deliver high quality things in a predictable manner. And so the microservices technology that I've been streaming about is so that your code base doesn't become the thing that prevents you from doing that. And on this mailing list here, I do like real short posts that talk about other concerns in trying to establish flow at organizations. So like the one that I did today is all about, oh, so disappointing when it doesn't load fast. I have some free tier at Netlify, so maybe if I paid the money, it would go better. But this one's talking about like how when PRs sit in languish, the things that fall out of that aren't good, and then just trying to teach how to view things, how to see them through these different lenses. So yeah, if you go to practicalmicroservices.com/posts, you can see all the different things that I write about there. So if that interests you, check it out. Also, if the stream interests you, be sure to hit follow, or I think they're called followers on Twitch. But let's dive back into our project that we're working on here, which is to get this form up and being submitted. So there is too much stuff on the screen right now, so I'm going to try to rearrange. How do we? There we go. I know that's not the right one. There we go. Let's make that a little bit bigger so that we have less in the directory structure and more in the code here. And I think with the change that we made yesterday, we can get rid of the routes file. So let's go ahead and close that. And then what do we have here? We have the controller and the test that we're working on. And what we're trying to get to is all of our form fields rendering and not crashing. That is the goal of our test. And then we need to actually render said form, right? Oh, wow. So you don't have to explicitly call out the render in Rails anymore, because there is a view that matches the name there. Maybe you never had to do that. I don't know. Whatever the case may be, double check that some things are working properly. Okay, there we go. Yeah. All right. So we were filling this stuff out. We got the placeholder on there. So I want to get a label on there. And I think if I remember my stuff, there's like form dot, is it label for? And then you give it the field that you want the label for. Let's try that and see what happens when we reload. We get an error because that is not a thing. Oh, there's a syntax error. Syntax error? Oh, wait, no. Why is there a syntax error? Form.label. That looks right. All right, let's look in the actual file where there's a problem. App views register 20. Is this because I was trying to comment things out and everything went wrong? Or what do you not like here? Unexpected backslash. What? I'm really confused by this one. Where there's no backslash on there. Let's just delete it all real quick and see if that fixes things. It does not. Okay, so we've got a problem. Oh, it looks like I removed the double quote terminating that string right there. That doesn't look right. Now what do we have? Undefined method label for. That's fair. Let's find that. So Rails form label. I don't remember how to do this. Clearly, because we got the big explosion there, didn't we? So let's look for label. Form.label. Okay, there's no for. So we can just go like you. And then it'll look wrong, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it doesn't quite match. So what class are the labels supposed to have? Label 4 equals email. And that's the one that came from the previous code. So it looks like it doesn't need. Maybe those do look the same. Close enough that my eye can't tell, even on this big fancy. Well, I don't know that it's a big fancy screen. It's just my laptop screen. It's got good resolution, though. I'll give Apple that. That's for sure. Label for. Oh, this says register user email, which is the ID right there. So that would all work. So the way we would test that is if we click on the label, the input focuses to right there, which is what we want. Good stuff. Okay, great. So then, now are we missing, like the gap between those two looks different than the gap between those two. So are there any like, they're supposed to be wrapped in form groups. Okay, so let's add that. So we would come here and say div class equals form group. And then put those both inside of there. And then close that div. Now if we reload said page, there we go. That's looking better. And it looks like I got a J in there somewhere because Vim's fault. It's my fault. I typed it wrong. So we reload that. It's fixed. Cool. So then we just need another one of these form groups. Like so. And this time for the password. So we're going to do a form label for password. And then I don't remember if it's a password field or not. So let's have a look here in the documentation. It is a password field. Okay, great. So instead of text field, we would just say password field. This is going to the property password. We want that same class. And the placeholder would be password. Boom. That probably shouldn't be as happy about getting basic forms working in Rails as I am, but here we are. And right now our hidden field has no value. I'm going to put a line in there just to make that easier to read, and same thing right there. Okay, so everything else at this point is just showing what the errors are. Oh, and I suppose it would be good to be able to submit the button, right? Or not the button, the form itself. So let's see. Submit form.submit. How do you change the text on it? Is that the value? Button type. The submit button is automatically given an appropriate text value. So I guess Rails form helper change submit button text. Oh, let's go back to 2011 for this one, shall we? You just pass it as an argument, or at least you did in 2011. Let's see if that is still the case. So if we come here and do a equals form.submit and pass the text register, and we're going to do that with an exclamation point because it's so exciting. So come back to our page. There it is. Now, does that look the same? That one looks different. There's probably some class on there that is bootstrap aware. Type equals submit. There is not. Why do they look different then? Honestly, I like the new one more. And am I just spending too much time? Oh, because it made it an input type equals submit and not a button type equals submit. Okay, well, let's... Does that matter? Sorry, how is it? Button type equals submit versus... Submission buttons can override the declared method. So what's the difference? If we do Rails form helper button versus submit, why would you use one over the other? Add the submit button. Will these have a different result? There we go. Render a button instead. Let's come back to our button here. So, you know what? It doesn't even matter. I'm getting caught up on something that doesn't matter. I actually like the way that one looks more than the old one. So we're just going to say that's good. The only thing that remains is getting the errors displayed in there. And I don't remember how Rails does that either. So let's figure that out. Error. Really? Okay, so Rails form errors. How to show errors. Yeah, that works. That's good enough for step 2. Should look something like that. We can show all of the errors. You know what? That works. So where the errors get displayed, that's going to look a little bit differently. We'll have them all up at the top, but it looks like the form helper will just go ahead and add the error conditions there. Is that going to match what the Bootstrap stuff expects, though? That's the part that I'm not sure about. So we will need that model just in a minute here. So if we had an error, we would add the class is invalid to it. One step at a time. Let's just get the errors displaying. What is this from? This feels... So 2019. The code shown above is an if-else statement. Statement is pretty much just saying if there are any errors. You now have everything you need to show. Okay, fine. We'll just copy this code right here. And we can put it right there. We don't have dogs. And we don't need the equals because equals will inject the output of the method that you call into that place in the template. And so where this is just a pure control statement here. So it would be if register user errors.any, then for each of those, grab the full messages and output them as an H3. And then end. I am going to put some more space there because I think it looks better. But there was a thing about like, you want to put this dash here, be something to do with the white space in the output. I don't fully remember how that all works. So do it like so. When I was doing Rails, did ERB for a while, but then switched it to Haml, which I found more pleasant to work with when doing um, template stuff, laying out pages and whatnot. So that shouldn't fail. That's good. And so now we just need to get some errors coming from the server. So one thing we could do, well, we don't have a way to get errors yet. So I'm just going to code something real quick. Let's say it has to have an ID. At this point, well, ID is a hidden field, so that's not a good one. Let's take the email as an example. We're saying that has to have a thing to be present. So we could say register user.validate. Validate like so. Now that should trigger an error to appear. Email can't be blank. Yeah. That's really neat how that just appears like that. But what I don't like is nothing has appeared right here. Like there's no error class on that field. Why is that? I wouldn't expect this page to have anything about HTML forms in it. Oh, but it does. Neat. Okay. So when a validation error occurs on a field, it will generate an extra div around the entry. Oh, okay. So maybe it is there and I just missed it. So it puts in a field with errors. Okay. However, we want to get these bootstrap classes in place to make that work. So let's see how we do that. Rails form errors, bootstrap. Styling form error messages with bootstrap Rails, adding bootstrap errors to Rails fields with errors. This looks promising. Let's check this one out. The problem was fields with errors. Create an initializer inside your newly created files. So we're overriding how action view base wraps fields with errors with their error tags here. For active record, backend, form fails validation. Action view calls this proc for each field that failed validation. The proc processes or passes an HTML tag, the form field, and the instance into the block. If we didn't overwrite it, it would wrap the field in a div that looks something like this. However, we're going to override that by modifying the field directly versus wrapping it in a div. So class adder index equals HTML tag.index. This variable tells us that the field already has a class attribute, or if it doesn't. If it does, I see. Okay, so HTML tag is some sort of an enumerable, and we're calling the .index method on it to get the index of class equals. If it doesn't have one, we will set the variable to nil. At +7? What? Is that an error in the way this rendered? By +7. Does this guy talk about it? Huh. In front of the argument instance, they added an underscore. It may look silly to you. Standard convention for block variables passed in and never used. You don't actually have to receive them at all if you don't want to. I think you can Like even if a block gets called with 4 things and you only care about one of them, you can just leave it out. All right, well, this is a good approach to it, I think. So I'm going to grab this and just hope that we're using the same version of Bootstrap. So this would go into an initializer, which is in config. I always wanted to go to app define those. And what did he call it? Customize error. Sure, why not? What? Just, oh, I scrolled up. Customize errors. And this is a Ruby file. And where'd you go? Config environments, I put it in. That's not where I meant to put it. So let's move that to initializers. There we go. Okay, customize errors is in there. We can paste all this code in and let's just see if it works. So instead we need to restart the server in that case because the initializers only get run at initial boot time. Did anything crash? Nothing crashed, but we also don't see the errors that I was hoping to see. Ah, it's got the class error on there. Okay, that's good stuff, but that's still not quite what we need. So the initializer, I think, worked as expected, but maybe we need some different classes. So, we're supposed to add class is invalid. If that's the case. So let's come here and say is invalid. Did that one have a blank space? It did. And then here we can just do is invalid as well. That went into the initializer though, so we'll need to restart our server. And we can rerun that. Oh, that's unfortunate. Oh, I did an underscore. My bad. That should have been a dash because that's what Bootstrap uses. Gotta use what the library says. It went on the label, but is the label where we actually want that to be? No, it's supposed to go on the input itself, not on the label. So does this only apply things to the label? Is invalid. It's also on the label. So it's on both the input and the label. Why are you in double quotes there? It's really strange. Why are you showing up as double quoted? Huh. Class equals invalid errors. So that showed up on the form control the way, well, wait a second. I might be mistaking how this used to function. This is the node one. So if I click register, oh, nothing changes there anyway. We just put this little bit under there. Okay. in the Rails world, we would want these to highlight in big ugly characters. You know what? I'm not going to worry about this, honestly. So this initializer is not doing what we would want anyway. So I'm going to just go ahead and get rid of it and clear it out of the buffer. That's fine. And let's just worry about, where did my view file go? Right here. Yeah, I'm not going to worry about any more of the error stuff here, because we'll see those up above. Wait a second. No, I'm sorry. No. I think there's a better way to do this, honestly. So if errors and errors.email, still confused why this one being invalid didn't trigger the visual change, because it doesn't in the other code anyway. So let's just grab this real quick, and we could just manually put in a little thing right here. So basically it would be if register user is the name of the thing, .errors, and I'm guessing it has something like that on it. Then what we would want to include is a div with a class equal to invalid feedback. Sometimes you can't just rely on the automated stuff that Rails puts in place for you. That's fine. So errors.fullmessages.each. All right, we got to see what that thing has on it. So active model errors. Provides error-related functionalities. Can you get full messages for? Ah, there we go. Gonna take a guess here that we can say, if you have it for that, then what I would like you to do is get the register user.errors .full messages for pass an email, and let's join those with a comma and a space. There we go. Oh, why does this div look weird? Because I didn't close this tag right here. Go like that. All right. How does that look? Woohoo. That style does look different, I'll be honest. Where's our one here? Let's drag you over to right there. The color is very different. Invalid feedback. Is that what the class name is supposed to be? Invalid feedback. Right, because that name would have come from Bootstrap. That's not one we came up with. And so why does the color look so different, though, is my question. Well, whatever. It's there. We just need to get those errors showing up in something a little bit better. Let's grab real quick for password bit. There's probably like a helper function we could write to make this a little bit smoother, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. Let's get the error triggered for the password as well. There we go. Those are both wrong. So with that, now we can finally get rid of this old form stuff here. That feels good to get rid of that. And then we just got to wrap these errors in something a little bit better than that. So Bootstrap for just need some sort of a box to put that in, I suppose. Components. what were they called? Like the big info things. I don't think it's a card. No, it's not a card. Alerts. That's the one that we want. So this would be a danger alert. Let's grab that real quick. So if we've got any of these errors, then we would want to drop in an alert danger. First pass, let's just look at that real quick. Yeah, kind of. Almost there. I don't think that was the right one. Panel. I want a panel. That's what they used to be called. Is that no longer a thing? Layout, tables, forms, lists. I'm going to be so sad if the panels are gone. Layout, that's going to deal with grid and all of that. So in the components, alerts, badge button, card, carousel, collabs, forms, jumbotron, modal navs, pagination, popovers, progress. Is there no panel anymore? Bootstrap 4 panel. Did it go away? Dropped panels for new all-encompassing cards. Okay, so maybe card is what we were looking for. Card title, card body, kitchen sink, header and footer. There we go. So something like this is what we would want. All right, that's fine. Let's just put that in there. And we can say something like, you did something wrong. Real quick. And just really curious, what is that going to look like on the page? We're not going to keep that language, of course. We don't need the button. And I don't think we need the title inside of the body. Everything is so light here. That's strange to me, but not here fixing that today. So up here in the card, is this where you could put alert, danger? It is. That text is very difficult to read though. What happens if we made that an H3? Looks terrible. All right, I'm not going to worry about the colors right now. And then here is where we'll put our list of errors. That would be inside of the card text, or maybe, yeah, that's what we can do. We can change these to p class equals card text and put the message inside of there. Oh, this indentation doesn't quite look right. Get rid of you and you. Does that fix anything? Because you should be indented one. There we go. Like it, but I would like to see some more space between that and where the form starts. How did you do that back in the day? Is it if you put it div class equals row? Let's try that real quick. Nope, that is definitely not how you do it. All right, let's go back to the Bootstrap documentation. Gosh, it has been ages since I've done any of this. That would probably be in this layout kind of thing. Layout, headings list before meta text. No, maybe it's in grid. Rows, class equals, are we in a class container? Maybe that is part of our problem here. We are in a class container, div class equals row. I just added that, didn't I? Does a form need to be inside of a row? Content. Where did forms? Can we just see an example of a form, or is that in components? Forms. Here we go. Form group. Is that what we have down here? It is. Bootstrap margin after card. How can I add space between them? Margin classes. Yeah, I was hoping it wouldn't be doing just like manual margins after things, but you know what? Margin bottom, I don't know, let's put 20 pixels of margin there, because that is how you do web design. You just randomly hard code things. There we go. Why is that text so light? It's not particularly dark on that page either, but it was at least readable. Inspect element, computed, color. Where did you come from? From the body. 919AA1. So we come back here, inspect element, and do computed, color. It's the same color. Why does it look so difficult to read? Card. Well, it's the same color. It just looks very hard to read. Maybe. Can you make like an H3 card header? Sure can't. Oh, let's get rid of this. There were errors getting you registered. Great. Wait, we've already got these showing up. Oh my dear goodness. If that's the case, we don't need any of this. Because it'll just show it like that. Those look so different. I think it has to do with the font that's being loaded. I'd never figured that out when I copied over all the CSS and JavaScript stuff for the Rails asset pipeline. We'll live with it. Okay, great. So we are now at a position where we can submit the form, which is a good place to be. We submit it, what happens? Yeah, no action create. All right, let's call it there. We're a little bit over. It got started late, and so I don't have to be back to work as soon, but I'm going to re-comment those out. So I'm saying this form is complete, so let's just leave that. And where are we going to pick up from tomorrow? Form is ready to submit, dubmit, nice. I would like to make sure... No, because we could cover it in the submit test. That the ID that we're putting in there. What I'm trying to say, these take an ID. And that ID is going to be generated by the server. It has to do with making this all idempotent. And so what we need to do is write a test. For submitting the form. Great. All right, cool. Weird one today, but I feel like made some progress, so I'm excited about that. Have a great day. Happy coding.